The Last Passenger on Route 66. Inspired by reported American highway legends. In November 2018, a bus driver named Harry Mitchell was assigned an overnight route along a remote stretch of Route 66 near Flagstaff. Harry had been driving night routes for almost 10 years. Most drivers hated Route 66 after midnight because the highway cut through miles of empty desert with almost no towns nearby. But Harry never believed the stories. Truckers often talked about strange lights in the desert, missing hitchhikers, voices on dead radio channels. Harry always laughed at those stories, until one stormy night changed everything. It was 1:38 a.m. Heavy rain crashed against the windshield while thunder echoed across the desert mountains. Inside the bus, nearly every passenger was asleep. A tired mother rested beside her daughter near the middle rows. Two college students sat listening to music in the back. An older man slept near the window with his hat covering his face. The highway ahead looked endless, just darkness and rain. Harry reached for the radio to stay awake, but all he heard was static. That's when he noticed someone standing near the road ahead. At first, Harry thought it was a broken signpost, but as the headlights grew closer, he realized it was a person. Tall man, standing completely still beside the highway, wearing a black suit, no jacket, no umbrella, no car nearby, just standing there in the freezing rain, watching the bus. Harry slowed down nervously. Nobody walked that part of Route 66 at night, especially during storms. For a second, Harry considered driving past him, but company policy required drivers to stop for stranded travelers if possible. So with hesitation, he opened the door. The man climbed inside slowly, and immediately, Harry felt uncomfortable. The passengers' clothes were perfectly dry, not even slightly wet from the storm outside. The man reached into his pocket and handed Harry several old dollar bills. The bills felt freezing cold. Harry forced a small smile. Long night, huh? The passenger said nothing, not a single word. He simply stared at Harry for several seconds with pale, emotionless eyes. Then he walked toward the back of the bus. Every passenger he passed seemed strangely uncomfortable. Some moved their legs away from the aisle without even waking up fully. The man finally sat in the very last row beside the window. Then he stopped moving completely. About 20 minutes later, Harry noticed the temperature inside the bus dropping rapidly. Passengers began pulling jackets tighter around themselves. One woman walked toward the front looking nervous. She whispered quietly, "Can you ask that guy in the back to stop staring at people?" Harry checked the mirror. The man was staring directly forward, smiling. The smile looked wrong, too wide, too still, like somebody pretending to smile without understanding how humans actually do it. Harry looked away quickly, trying not to think about it. Then the overhead lights near the back rows flickered once. Then again, a teenager sitting near the rear suddenly stood up. "Driver." Harry glanced in the mirror. Yeah, the teenager looked pale. "That guy was just standing beside me." Harry's stomach tightened instantly. He looked toward the last row. Empty, completely empty. Then slowly, he noticed someone standing halfway down the aisle. The man, motionless, facing directly toward the driver, still smiling. Harry nearly slammed the brakes from shock, but when he turned around fully, the aisle was empty again. Passengers looked around confused, and somehow, the man was back sitting in the last row, exactly where he had been before. At 2:13 a.m., the bus radio suddenly exploded with static. Passengers jumped awake. Harry grabbed the radio immediately. "Dispatch." Only static answered. Then a weak, distorted voice came through the speaker. Barely understandable. "Do not let him stay." Harry frowned. "Who is this?" Static crackled loudly again. Then the voice returned, closer this time. "He died on this road." The radio shut off instantly. Silence filled the bus. One passenger nervously laughed. Another woman asked Harry to stop the bus immediately. Harry ignored her. He just wanted to reach the next town. But something felt horribly wrong now. Rain slammed harder against the windshield. Lightning flashed across the desert. And every few seconds Harry caught the smiling passenger staring at him through the mirror. Never blinking, never moving, just watching. Nearly 30 minutes later, Harry noticed something terrifying. Every passenger on the bus was asleep again. Every single one, except the man in the last row. But this time, he wasn't there. Harry's breathing slowed. His hands tightened around the steering wheel. He checked the mirrors again. Nothing. The back rows were empty. Then suddenly, a little girl near the middle seats began crying quietly. Her mother tried calming her down, but the child kept pointing toward the aisle, whispering, "The smiling man." Harry looked up. The aisle was empty, but then the little girl slowly pointed toward the front of the bus instead, right behind the driver's seat. Harry froze. A cold breath touched the back of his neck. Then a quiet voice whispered directly into his ear, "You should have kept driving." driving. Harry turned instantly. The man stood inches behind him, smiling wider than before. His eyes looked completely black now. Passengers nearby somehow remained asleep. Harry screamed and violently jerked the steering wheel. The bus slid across the wet highway. People woke up shouting as luggage flew from overhead compartments. The vehicle nearly crashed through the guardrail before finally stopping sideways across the road. Thunder shook the desert. Passengers panicked. Several people ran off the bus into the rain. Harry looked back toward the aisle. The smiling man was gone, completely disappeared. 10 minutes later, highway police arrived. Passengers gave conflicting stories. Some claimed they saw a tall man walking through the bus moments before the crash. Others insisted no extra passenger had ever boarded at all. But one old woman quietly told police, "He sat in the last row the whole ride, smiling at everybody." That statement caught the attention of an older deputy standing nearby. The deputy slowly asked Harry to describe the passenger again. Tall, black suit, pale face, wide smile. The deputy became visibly nervous. Then he told Harry something strange. Back in 1997, another overnight bus had crashed on the exact same stretch of Route 66 during a thunderstorm. Several survivors later described a silent man wearing a black suit sitting in the last row before the accident. Witnesses claimed the man disappeared moments before the crash happened. Police never identified him. No ticket records existed. No fingerprints. No missing person report. But rescuers found one object near the wreckage. An old black suitcase, locked from the inside, empty. Before sunrise, officers searched Harry's bus carefully. Most found nothing unusual, until one deputy noticed wet footprints on the floor. The prints started from the last row, then moved slowly up the aisle, step by step, toward the driver's seat, and then, they suddenly stopped, as if the person who made them had vanished into thin air. Harry Mitchell resigned 3 days later. According to former co-workers, he refused to drive highways after midnight ever again. But the strangest part came months later. One mechanic cleaning the abandoned bus reportedly found something carved into the metal beneath the last seat. 4 words: "I'm still on board."